So today's topic is really about kind of the lies that our brains like to tell us about what we need in order to write. After my students have been with me for a while, they've usually cleaned all of this junk out. But often when students first come to me, they've still got a lot of, junk in the brain, really. Hello and welcome back to my third episode of Write with Chloe. I'm so excited to be here and providing you guys with a bit more in-depth, behind-the-scenes stories compared to what I can normally offer on Instagram, where there's, a limit on how much detail I can share. So today's topic is really about kind of the lies that our brains like to tell us about what we need in order to write. After my students have been with me for a while, they've usually cleaned all of this junk out. But often when students first come to me, they've still got a lot of, junk in the brain, really, in terms of mental narratives about what they need in terms of their physical environment in order to be able to write. And look, I totally get it. 100% I get it, right? I had honestly close to 9 years or something crazy of procrastination and never finishing pieces and being really stop-start with my writing routine and all that stuff, right? So I get it. I get it. We don't need to beat ourselves up if we are doing this. However, at the same time, if we do want to become a published author, something that we're going to have to eventually clean up is listening or believing to the lies our brain tells us about needing this perfect environment in order to be able to write. Because it's just not true. It's literally not true, right? So the other day I had to do a visa run. I live in Thailand, and so I had to do a visa run and then get up and get on the ferry at 5 a.m. So I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. and catch a ferry for 3 hours before getting in a minivan and blah, blah, blah. So I obviously wasn't going to get up and write at 4 in the morning. Sleep is also important. And so I decided to just take my laptop with me so I could do some work in the van, but also so I could write on the ferry. It was a 3-hour ferry ride, nothing to do. Why not utilize that time and work on my second book? Great. So got on the ferry, had a look around. There are a couple of different rooms, spaces, whatever, that I could choose from. The air-conned one was just freezing and noisy and just not my vibe. I don't like screaming kids nor air conditioning. So I went and sat out the back where they had these little not comfortable, whatever, but still, at least there were seating area. And so I got settled in, opened my laptop, and I just started writing. For me, I was just I'm just going to start writing. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The seat's uncomfortable, kind of outdoors in the middle of the ocean. It's 5 in the morning. The horn's tooting every now and again. There's a kid screaming over there. It's kind of hot. Yeah, whatever. I'm just going to write. If it's maybe a little bit less neat than usual because of my environment, yeah, so what? And it was really a moment where suddenly I felt a lot of gratitude for myself, because had that been 10 years earlier, I would have found so many reasons why I couldn't write. I literally didn't even have a desk. Literally the laptop was sitting on my knees while I'm on this hard metal cold chair with the wind blowing, whatever. And I just wrote. And it wasn't always like that. But on this day, it was just so normal because I'd had so much practice at it. And it just made me want to share with you guys this story, because I just see so many people thinking they can't write until they have a perfectly quiet space, or they can't write until they have their own desk or writing room, or they can't write if the TV's blaring in the background. And honestly, this is just your brain trying to trick you into not writing. Sometimes I feel our brain doesn't actually want us to write. It just wants us to stay safe and small and not risk being vulnerable and being authentic and being seen by the world and, hurting other people's feelings. And so it will just come up with all manner of excuses about why we can't write. But they're not true. Literally, even if you only have 5 or 10 minutes, and you're sitting on the toilet whilst you're taking a dump, you can write. You can literally write whilst taking a dump on the toilet, even for 7 minutes, and call that 10 out of 10 you've done your writing for your day. I'm not even joking. Obviously, it's not really something that I would recommend every day for the long term and blah, blah, blah. But my point is, when you're trying to keep that cord of connection strong between you and the page, sometimes you just don't have that perfect environment. And so you have two options. Believe the dirty little brain lies about why you can't write today, or just do it. anyway and just let it be messy and imperfect, and that's how we start to get momentum at the beginning, and it's how we maintain consistency over the long term, right? Just showing up anyway. And then, there are also a few things that you can do to help yourself feel a little bit better about your environment if you're someone who needs that, right? So for example, instead of thinking that your writing routine starts when you sit down at the desk each morning, you could set a reminder on your phone to set everything up the night before. And so for me, that includes making sure there's no dirty dishes left in the sink of an evening, making sure my writing desk is completely free. I even I literally have communicated during a relationship check-in with my partner that it's really important for me that he never leaves his personal belongings, his bag, on the desk that's on our balcony. Because even though for him it's just a desk that he walks by on his way to and from work, for me that's my writing space and nothing ever gets put on it, and I had to ask him to meet me in that, because sometimes he would come home late from work and then I would wake up in the morning and there would be his shit on my writing desk, right? And it's yeah, sure, I could move it, or I could just have these conversations and just have that space always prepared the night before. I also set up my water for the following day the night before, and then I have my coffee and blah blah blah. And so then for me, what I'm doing, it's when I wake up in the morning, there's kind of less friction or less things that could get in between me and sitting down at the desk to write. And so you could think about okay, what are the things that I might like to ritualize of an evening the night before, so that then when I get up to write in the morning, there's less friction. And at the same time, I also have rules for myself around I don't check social media before I write. I definitely don't check emails or open any of my work applications before I write. And I also generally don't have conversations with my partner about anything to do with admin or anything heady. I will definitely give him a hug or have a morning, how did you sleep? But if he for example, started to open a conversation about a bill or something and I hadn't written, I would have no problem saying, hey, I'm so available for that conversation, but I just need to get my writing done first, so that I'm not then taking the risk that we're not going to quickly, let's just check the account balance. Let's open the computer, check the account balance. And then my brain is starting to go into that admin mode, right? I don't want that. I want to make writing always the first thing I do upon waking every morning. Don't accidentally write a book that no one wants to read except for your mum. So how do we produce writing that people can't stop reading? Well, we write from the body or intuition or soul, not from the head or intellect, which is where most beginner writers write from unless they know better. My membership, Write From the Heart, teaches you exactly this. How do we write from the body or soul or intuition in order to produce work that has great psychological nuance and depth and that readers just can't put down? We get together online once a week. I give you a magic prompt to help you do so. We do a little bit of hot seat coaching to work through some of the struggles. And then in between, you get access to a library of more than 20 videos explaining every step of the process and mindset shifts needed to write a beautiful first draft of a book that people can't put down. You can join the first week for free. Just use the code Chloe at the checkout. And then I guess the last piece of this though is that sometimes it's inevitable, particularly when you live with other people, that you're going to wake up and there's dirty washing over the lounge, or someone has left something on your desk, or someone did leave a dirty dish in the sink, right? And you also just have to make a commitment that when those things happen, because they will, right? It's inevitable, they will. You are still going to choose your writing before putting the washing away. Every time, every single time. Right? Because what your brain will try to do is convince you that it's just this one time. Just this one time, I'm just going to quickly put the washing away before I write. Just this one time, I'm going to quickly do the dishes before I write. No! It sounds so small, and your brain will try to convince you that it won't stop you from writing. But can I tell you, from someone that has had a lot of experience with both failing and succeeding at this, it is not worth it. 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 Sleep, go to the toilet, make your coffee and get a glass of water, go to the desk and write. That's it. Anything else can be dealt with afterwards. Okay, thanks for joining me for another episode. If you haven't already, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at write_with_Chloe. And if you've enjoyed this podcast or this YouTube video, depending on where you're watching it, I would love if you could either give me a review or drop a comment below. And if you want to learn how to write 10,000 words in 30 days and enjoy the process, then click the link below and I will send you my free 3-part video sequence explaining how to do it. Thanks for having me, and I will see you guys next time. I just created a new membership called Write From The Heart, and I would love for you to come along and give it a try. You can use the word Chloe at the checkout and get the first week free. The reason I created this is because so many people tell me, I really want to work with you, Chloe, but I just want to get a first draft down before I come to you. And it's awkward because I kind of have to tell them that usually what happens when people do that, they end up having to throw away everything that they wrote before coming to me because they didn't realize it, but they wrote a whole first draft from the head or intellect instead of from the body or intuition and soul. And when we write from the head or intellect, the work just has no depth or nuance. And so it's not the kind of writing that people just want to devour and can't put down. To produce that kind of writing, we have to be writing from the body or intuition or soul. And so my membership, Write From The Heart, is a low cost and sort of, low level in terms of commitment way that you can start to put that into practice and learn how to write from the body. We meet online once a week. I give you guys a magical prompt to get you started. We write together in silence, and then I invite a couple of people to unmute and get some hot seat coaching about what they're currently struggling with in their writing. And then in between, you get access to a library of more than 20 videos outlining every step of the process of writing a first draft that moves readers emotionally. So check out the link and use the code Chloe to get your first week for free, and I look forward to seeing you there.